Hello and welcome to today's episode in our HG and Employment series. My name is Faye and I'm the Fundraising Officer at Pregnancy Sickness Support. I'm a former peer support volunteer and have suffered with HG twice when pregnant with my girls, now 7 and 3. In this series, I have been exploring the theme of employment and HG and speaking with both sufferers and experts on maternity rights. Today, I'm joined by Katy North. Katy is a peer support volunteer who now supports women through their HG journeys. Katy is a self-employed dance teacher with her own dance school. Katy, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm just going to tell everybody at home that we've had some problems with the recording. So if we're a bit kerfuffled, that's why. So Katy, would you like to explain a little bit about your business and what you do for a job?
So I'm a dance teacher. I've been teaching for 17 years. I have my own dance school. I have a wonderful team of teachers, but I do lead 90% of the classes myself. It's not just teaching when I'm actually at work. It's preparing the choreography, dancing at home, the act of running a business, lots of admin, a very busy and active job.
And can you tell me a little bit about your HG? When did it start?
So my HG started when I was 5 weeks pregnant. I knew very quickly it wasn't a normal pregnancy sickness that I was experiencing. I had previously been pregnant with twins and had a lot of sickness, but I was managing to eat and drink and kind of replenish myself. And as long as I took, a little bit extra care of myself, I could carry on normal life. Now, this pregnancy was completely different. I wasn't keeping any foods down. I couldn't keep foods down. I was extremely unwell. I was admitted to hospital. It lasted my entire pregnancy. And it wasn't until about my 3rd trimester that I got a little bit of relief. And by relief, I mean I was still very unwell. But I wasn't worried about hospital admissions, and I wasn't spending kind of 23 hours a day in bed. It would, a couple of naps a day, and I could spend more time downstairs with my family and the occasional trip out of the house. It was a very, very difficult pregnancy.
And did it come on, you mentioned it started at 5 weeks. Did it come on very suddenly and all of a sudden you were in bed, or was it gradually you were able to put, get extra help within your business and you were able to put things in place to help you? How did it look?
So I knew very early that I was pregnant. I had very short cycles. So about 3.5, 4 weeks, I knew I was pregnant. My husband and I had been trying for a little while. So I was very on when I was having a period or when I wasn't. So I knew very quickly. And then I started to get a bit of sickness, which I expected because I had experienced that with my first pregnancy. But then I became sick very quickly. So at 5 weeks, I was continually sick throughout the day. I actually went for an early scan because our first concern was, oh my gosh, are we having twins again?
Twins again, yeah. Yeah.
And I love my twins, but I was really hoping just for one this time. So I booked an early scan and it was just one baby. And then the sickness progressed. When it got to, I was I think around 6 weeks pregnant, so it'd only been about a week. Yeah. And then I was spending a lot of time in bed. So I think the worst time for me was kind of 6 to 10 weeks pregnant.
So how did that affect your ability to teach? You said that you taught 90% of the classes. So what happened to your business and what happened to your job whilst this was happening to you?
I was very fortunate in some ways that this was all happening during the pandemic. So when I was 6 weeks pregnant, we went into our second national lockdown. So we were locked down for 4 weeks. And that 4 weeks gave me time to trial different medications to see what combination worked for me. I mean, it was difficult because I had problems with my GPs. They were resistant to keep trying different medications. And I heard a lot about, you just need to get used to being pregnant, or it's just pregnancy. And I'm going, it's not just pregnancy. I am really unwell. So it took a lot of fight for the GPs to start medicating me properly. And it was actually a hospital admission that actually got me the right medication through seeing a consultant there. During that period that we were locked down, obviously my business was shut. But I spent a lot of time worrying about how am I going to teach after when this lockdown lifts, how am I going to teach? Because I can't even sit downstairs. And I became very worried. And obviously we'd had this pandemic, we were in this pandemic, and my business had been closed for the first lockdown. And I was worried about my business surviving. So I had this real strong determination. I had to teach. I had no choice. I needed my business to survive. I needed to feed my children. I have to do this. And so I did. After the national lockdown, the second one, I went back teaching. And that first night I went back, I was admitted into hospital.
On the first night?
The first night, yeah. So I'd finished teaching. And then a few hours later, I was so ill, and I went into hospital. And it was really frightening and difficult, because I'm thinking, how am I going to continue? And the thing that kept pushing me is like, I've got 3 weeks until Christmas break. 3 weeks. And I love my job, and I feel an obligation to all my staff to keep that running, and also to my students. I've taught some of these students my whole teaching career, some of them 17 years. And I know how much joy that they find in dance, and because we've been shut, I wanted to be able to provide that for them. So I did. I pushed on for those 3 weeks, but if I wasn't teaching, I was in bed. That is the only thing I could do. And I rested as much as I could. But it was a very, very difficult period. It was so difficult that I spent my whole Christmas break worrying. I knew I couldn't continue doing that to myself. But also, what should I do?
What other option did you have?
Yeah, and as I said, I have a wonderful team of teachers, but it's a lot to ask them to take on my business. Can you run my business for me? And I felt really guilty.
It sounds like you must have been under a tremendous amount of pressure. And I know from the sufferers I've spoken to before, your mental health during HG can take such a knock because of the isolation and the worry, and you're just so unwell and tired. But then add on the complication you've just said there about worrying, can I sustain this business? Can I keep people employed? Your mental health must have really taken a battering at that time.
Yes. I carried a lot of guilt through my HG pregnancy for various things, and I felt a lot of responsibility. I spent Christmas break hoping for another lockdown, which actually did come. So
so you had a moment's relief.
Yeah. So everyone's hoping we don't go into a third lockdown, and I am at home and I feel bad. I feel bad that I'm wishing a lockdown on everyone and the impact that has on businesses. But I know it's the best thing for me and my baby and my business. And I actually spent my whole second trimester in lockdown. And that was the best thing that could have happened to me at that point. And then at the end of the second trimester, I was, as I said, a little bit better. And it was about 4 days before I was due to go back to work. And my consultant said to me, you can't dance. You have excess fluid, and we are worried about preterm labour. My first pregnancy, I'd given birth at 28 weeks. So they were being extra cautious because I was, higher risk for another preterm labour. And I can't tell you the relief that they had made the decision for me.
Oh, really? So it had been taken out of your hands and that felt better for you? Oh, wow.
Getting rid of that guilt I'm not making the decision. I can't do this. I can't teach. My consultant has said that. I'm not having to make that decision whether I'm well enough or not. And I knew I still, although better, I wasn't well enough to teach.
No.
When you're unwell, you're not well enough to dance.
No.
So it was a massive relief. And it was at that point I said to my wonderful teachers, okay, I need your help. I need to go on maternity leave now. I need you to run classes. And they were absolutely amazing.
So sorry, Katy, how many weeks pregnant were you when you made that change?
So I was 28 weeks pregnant when they said, you know, you've got to start. And that's when my staff stepped in and say just the relief that I didn't have to try and hide how poorly I was, because I wanted to go into work in what's such a happy environment, let people know how poorly I am. So I felt like I had to, you know, really kind of keep that a secret. I didn't want, you know, my students or my teachers to worry about me. I wanted them to just come and have fun. So it was just.
Oh, but that must have been hard for you. I can't imagine trying to hide it.
Yes, very difficult, particularly before Christmas when I was teaching and no one knew I was pregnant. That was extremely difficult. I did actually, I told all my staff early that I was pregnant and that I was having difficulties because I was having to leave to go throw up in the toilet and was having to stop because the motion was making me feel really unwell. And, you know, I was faint because I was not eating and I wasn't drinking. And a lot of people with PhD will know that if you have an urge to eat, you have that very small window that you actually.
Oh yeah, it's tiny. Yeah,
you got to go because it might not happen.
Yeah.
Hours and hours again. So I needed to kind of have this support when I was teaching.
So Katy, if you could go back in time and have your pregnancy all over again, is there anything that now with hindsight you think, actually I'd do that slightly differently and maybe I could have coped a little better? Is there anything that you think you could have had a different way of doing it?
I think I should have asked for help sooner. My staff would have jumped in and they would have helped me. I'm very lucky. They're wonderful people, and I'm really proud to say that. And my friends too, they would have supported me and they would have helped me because they care about the business too. So I could have asked for help early. But one thing I really wish that I had done differently is how I treated myself. I felt really guilty and awful for not being able to do my job as well as I could before I was pregnant. That is out of my control. There was nothing I could have done to prevent that. I had no way of knowing that I was going to have hyperemesis.
And you didn't ask for it.
No. So I wish I treated myself better. I wish I spent less time worrying because it was out of my control. When you're in a very physically demanding job, there is not many things you can do to make it easier. I could have taught less classes. I could have, instead of trying to do it all, to maybe teach one class during a session rather than 5. But even that, I felt guilty. How do I choose which class do I teach? How do I explain to all the other kids, I'm not teaching your class, just this one? And I think because my mental health was low, you know, I made things much bigger than they were. You know, they wouldn't care really that I was only teaching one class when I had these amazing other teachers that were going to teach them. But I just felt responsible.
Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing your experience. Can I ask, did your HG finish when baby was born?
Yes. So I came off medication 5 days before I gave birth. And after that, it just completely disappeared, which I'm so thankful for.
Yeah, it's a strange feeling. It was the same with both of mine, that I woke up the next day and I was like, I'm human again.
Yes, and I found so much love of food again.
Yes.
I still remember my first meal.
Yeah, me too. What was yours?
Mine was Turkish. I'd ordered a Turkish takeaway, and I think I sent photos of it to everyone.
Yeah. It's funny. You're not the first person that's told me that. It's so funny, isn't it? And how did it feel when you were able to go back to teaching and all that sickness had passed, and you could just enjoy it again? How did it feel?
Oh, it was amazing. Absolutely amazing. You know, dance is a big part of my identity. I've been dancing since I was 5. So actually, I felt like I lost part of myself during the pregnancy because I couldn't do what I love. And I really express how I feel with my dancing. So if I'm happy, I'll dance. If I'm sad or I'm stressed, it's just my way of kind of relieving those emotions. And when I needed to do that the most, I actually couldn't. When I was struggling the most, normally I'd dance, and that was the one thing that would make it worse. So to be able to dance again, to be in all my classes, I was just so thankful to be back. And I've got this new kind of appreciation for my dance school, even more so because there was, a long period where I couldn't.
Amazing. And now obviously you're volunteering with PSS as a peer support volunteer.
Yes, which I'm thoroughly enjoying. It's really nice to help other women through it. I know that I couldn't have got through my pregnancy without the support of pregnancy sickness support. They helped me a lot, particularly knowing kind of what treatments are out there, because my GPs in particular, were very closed. I mean, several times they said to me, "There's nothing more we can do for you," which was completely untrue. So if I hadn't have found this information from pregnancy sickness support, I would have been left kind of under medicated and in hospital a lot more than I was. There's also the emotional support. No one can really understand unless you've been through it. My husband, he watched, and when we were thinking about today, I was talking to him about my experience, and he said, I can't understand because I didn't go through it. I don't know what it was like for you. You saw me so poorly, but no one can really understand unless you.
No, and having that peer support volunteer at the end of the phone that you can just sort of say, I've made it through another day, and they understand what you're going through. It means a lot, doesn't it?
It really does. And just those little tips and tricks to kind of help you through. Have you tried taking medication at a different time of day before, you get up for the day? Or have you tried, this food? Lots of women get on well, with, toast or crisps, or,
Yeah.
fizzy drinks.
For me, my peer support volunteer, I will never forget that she taught me this. I was like, I can't even brush my teeth. I can't put the toothbrush into my mouth. And she said, wait there. And she came back 10 minutes and she's like, here's my list of suggestions. And she said, pop a drop of toothpaste on a flannel, nice clean hot flannel, and brush your teeth that way. And I was like, Sarah, yes, thank you. Yeah, it means a lot, doesn't it? You're enjoying it? Are you finding that it's sort of helping you heal from it?
Yes, absolutely. It's helped me process everything that I went through, and it's made it a positive experience rather than me looking back now and it was an awful time. I now think what I've gained from it. I'm now part of this wonderful community. I'm helping other women, and that's a really positive way to kind of finish my experience with HG, and have this real positive light and know that I can go on and help others.
Oh, Katy, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your story. It was lovely to talk to you.
Thank you.
If you or someone you care about is suffering from HG, please visit pregnancysicknesssupport.org.uk for information on our services, as well as details on how you can get involved with volunteering and fundraising.